In the quiet before the world awakes, the Lord waits, not in the earthquake, nor in the fire, nor in the storm that rattles the heavens, but in the silence that follows them all. He does not demand to be heard. He does not shout to compete with your distractions. He whispers, and blessed is the one who stills the world within long enough to hear him speak. The beginning of wisdom is not knowing much. It is fearing the Lord, not fear like a trembling servant, but reverence like a child before a mighty father. The kind of fear that bows not out of terror but awe, that surrenders not out of defeat but recognition. For to see God rightly is to see yourself clearly, small, dust, breath, yet called, chosen, loved. My child, you have searched far and long for the things that will not last. You have chased titles that mean nothing in the grave. You have sought lovers who could not hold your soul. You have built towers with no foundation, and when the winds came, they fell, and still, he calls. Still, he watches the horizon, waiting for the dust of your return. You are not too far gone. You are not too late. The door is still open, and wisdom is still crying out in the streets. Come, come, all who are simple. Come, you who lack understanding. Come, not because you are worthy but because I am good. The world teaches you to guard your image. God teaches you to guard your heart. The world says follow your feelings. God says follow my voice. The world shouts, you are your own, but heaven declares, you were bought with a price. What is the price of your soul? What would you trade for peace that does not fail? Would you lay down pride? Would you abandon bitterness? Would you forgive what hurt you? Would you believe again, after all that broke you? There is a path that seems right to a man, but its end is destruction. It glitters with promise, but delivers dust. It tastes sweet at first, but turns bitter in the bones. This path is wide. It is filled with many. It moves quickly, celebrates loudly, and never looks back. But its joy is shallow and its end is fire. The way of the wise is narrow. It is not paved with applause. It is not popular, but it is good. It bends around thorns of discipline and dips into valleys of humility. It leads you not to the crown first, but to the cross. But it ends, oh, it ends in life. Do not forsake correction, my child. Do not run from the voice that says no. The wounds of God are the wounds of a surgeon. He does not cut to harm you but to heal. He removes what will rot you from within. He prunes what bears no fruit, not in anger but in mercy. You prayed for success. He gave you silence. You asked for power. He gave you waiting. You cried for breakthrough, and he gave you stillness. Not because he forgot you, but because he was building you. Because what you want can destroy you unless he prepares your character to carry it. My child, you are not hidden from his sight. When you rise, he sees. When you lie down, he watches. When you wander, he pursues. There has not been a tear you've shed that heaven did not record. There has not been a night too dark for his light to enter. Not one moment of despair that did not echo into his throne room. Come back, not with the strength of the righteous, but with the honesty of the broken. Come back with your guilt, your shame, your half-hearted prayers. Come back. He will not shame you. He will not scold. He will run. He will robe you. He will restore what the locusts have eaten. He will give you beauty for ashes and joy for mourning. He will replace the spirit of despair with a garment of praise. The fool mocks the things of God. He scoffs at Scripture. He laughs at holiness. But his laughter is hollow and his strength will fail. He builds his life on sand. And when the floods come, and they will, he will fall with a crash that shakes others. But the wise listen before the storm. They build before the winds rise. They store oil before the night grows long. They do not wait until the door is shut to cry out. They seek the Lord while he may be found. They draw near when others drift. They remain when others scatter. Do not envy the wicked, though their houses grow large and their names are praised, though their feet run to gain and their hands overflow with treasure. Their hearts are empty. They lie down with anxiety and rise with hunger, unsatisfied. They are surrounded by people but know no peace. Their steps are crooked, and their joy is counterfeit. Better is a little with righteousness than great treasure with trouble. Better a simple life in the will of God than a dazzling kingdom outside it. The world says be seen, God says be faithful. The world says be strong. God says be still. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. For your understanding is finite, flawed and forgetful, but his thoughts are higher, and his ways beyond searching out. He knows where the road bends. He sees what you cannot. He has gone before you and written the end from the beginning. Submit your ways to him, and he will make your path straight. Not easy but straight, not smooth but sure, not without pain, but with purpose. Honor the Lord with your life, not just with songs but with choices, not just with words but with work, not just in church, but in the shadows where no one watches. Keep mercy close, write truth on the walls of your heart. Let integrity be your companion, and humility your closest friend. Speak slow, listen deep, forgive often. Do not withhold good when it is in your hand to give. Do not say come back tomorrow, when you can help today. Do not harbor grudges in the garden of your soul. Bitterness is a weed. It chokes the flowers before they bloom. Envy is a poison. It rots your joy before it blossoms. Let love be your language. Let justice be your mark. Let grace be the fragrance of all you do. For the Lord searches hearts and tests minds. He weighs your motives more than your motions. If you stumble, rise. If you fall 7 times, rise 8. If your strength is gone, crawl forward on grace. If you feel too weak to go on, remember, his strength is made perfect in weakness. You were never meant to carry it all. You were meant to be carried, and the one who made you, he is able, he is near, he is not angry, he is not ashamed of you, he is calling, return. Lust does not love you. It never has. It enters your life quietly, dressed like comfort, sounding like desire, wearing the scent of sweetness, but hiding rot beneath its tongue. It tells you what you want to hear, that you're only human, that you deserve relief, that this is how people cope when the loneliness won't leave, that this ache in your body is too strong to fight, that no one needs to know, and that afterwards you can always be forgiven. But lust never leaves you whole. It chips at your soul in pieces you cannot see. It feeds on your silence and then accuses you for being quiet. It drags you into darkness, and then mocks you for stumbling. It waits until you are tired, until your defenses are low, until your heart is worn thin, and then it speaks again, gently, persuasively, like a friend, like a lover, like a god. But lust is not a friend. Lust is not intimacy. Lust is not relief. It is hunger that grows the more you feed it. It is thirst that salt water cannot quench. It is a counterfeit love that will never hold you after it's done using you. You've felt its weight, not just in the night but in the morning after. You've stared at your reflection and wondered if it showed. You've wiped your hands, your screen, your history, but not your mind. You've whispered prayers you were afraid to finish. You've told yourself it was just this one time, just to feel something, just to forget. But afterward there was still the ache, still the shame, still the question in your soul, what is wrong with me? And I, the Lord your God, say nothing is wrong with you that I cannot heal. You are not beyond cleansing. You are not beyond freedom. You are not too addicted, too perverse, too far gone, too stained to be made new. But you must see this clearly. Lust is not harmless. It is not a game. It is not just desire. It is war. It is war against your purpose. It is war against your joy. It is war against the image of God in you. And if you let it live, it will grow, not in the light but in the corners of your heart, in your justifications, in your private fantasies, in your unspoken regrets. I did not create you to be ruled by appetite. I did not form your hands to reach for what is not yours. I did not anoint your mind so it could replay shadows and cling to images that leave you empty. I made you in my likeness, not as an animal chasing instinct, but as a soul learning to rise. You were made to worship, not to be mastered. You were made to build altars, not addiction. So listen now. Lust thrives in secrecy, but dies in the light. The longer you hide it, the deeper it roots. The more you excuse it, the more it becomes your identity. But you are not your urges. You are not your history. You are not your mistake. You are not what you watched, what you clicked, what you touched, what you let happen. You are not disgusting. You are not broken beyond repair. You are not too dirty to be held. You are not too far to be found. And you are not the only one. There are others who have fought this and fallen, others who have risen again, others who felt trapped in it for years and then broke free, not by willpower alone, but by surrender, not by shame, but by the Spirit, not by hiding, but by finally letting it come into the light. My child, you cannot heal from what you keep petting. You cannot break chains you still admire. You cannot run from sin if you're still looking back to see if it misses you. This is the moment of truth. You do not need to be perfect to begin. You only need to be on. You only need to say, God, I want to be free, because I already know, I already saw, I was there, not condemning, grieving, not turning away, waiting, and I am still here now, still speaking, still reaching, still ready. Freedom is not found in trying harder. Freedom is found in falling into grace, not falling back into sin and excusing it, but falling forward into my mercy, again and again, until you learn how to walk again without guilt, clutching your heels. You will not always feel clean, but you are. You will not always feel strong, but I. You will not always be free from temptation, but you are no longer a slave to it. Not if you are mine, not if my Spirit lives in you, not if the blood of my Son still speaks louder than your sin. So when lust rises like fire again, don't run toward it. Don't try to reason with it. Don't tell yourself you'll only stay for a moment. Run, not from fear but from wisdom. Turn your eyes, call a friend, open Scripture, fall to your knees if you must, but do not bow to it again. Your body is a temple, not a playground. Your mind is holy ground, not a trash bin, for memories you were never meant to carry. Your hands were made to build, not to bind. Your bed was meant for covenant, not for compromise. You were bought at a price, not to indulge the flesh, but to glorify God with everything you are. This is not a message of shame. It is a call to war, a holy war, not with fists, not with rules, not with religion, but with truth, with my word, with my Spirit, with my strength. And you will win, not because you are flawless, but because I am faithful. Lust begins, not as a command but as a whisper, subtle and slow, entering through the cracks in your solitude and disguising itself as comfort, not demanding but suggesting, not shouting but inviting you towards something that feels like relief, something that pretends to offer softness, but conceals a snare woven deep within its promise. It does not force itself upon you at first. It simply waits until your soul is tired and your guard is low, until the weight of being good begins to feel heavier than the cost of giving in. And then it speaks, not in thunder, not with fire, but with a voice that sounds like your own. It tells you what you've told yourself before, that this is just your nature, that this is how the body works, that what you're feeling is normal, that everyone does it, and no one gets hurt, that it doesn't matter as long as you keep it hidden, that God will understand, that you can repent later, that you've held out long enough and this one moment won't ruin everything. And before you realize what's happening, your thoughts begin to bend, your gaze lingers too long, and your heart grows quiet, not with peace, but with surrender. Temptation is not sin, but it grows roots quickly if you water it with attention, and when you let it sit in your imagination, it builds a throne in the corner of your mind, and waits for the rest of you to kneel. It is not always loud. Sometimes it is gentle. Sometimes it is warm. Sometimes it feels like the only thing strong enough to distract you from your pain, or your pressure, or your silence. But that is what makes it deadly. It does not feel like a snake. It feels like an escape. You do not fall into lust because you want to destroy your life. You fall into it because you are trying to relieve something that hasn't healed, a wound you never named, a loneliness you never admitted, a fear you never told anyone about, a longing for love that has never been answered. But lust does not love you. It only takes from you and leaves you emptier than it found you. It steals your clarity. It steals your pace. It steals your hours and your honesty. And it leaves behind shame so heavy, you begin to believe the lie that you are beyond help, that this is simply who you are now, and that freedom is something for people stronger than you. But I did not call you to live in war forever. I did not anoint you to walk in cycles of regret. I did not create your body to be at war with your soul. I did not place my spirit inside you only to watch you stumble and fall and rise again without hope. I am the God who breaks chains, not the God who pities slaves. I am not here to shame you. I am not here to lecture you. I am here to wake you up, because the thing you keep calling your comfort is devouring you, and if you don't confront it, it will grow. If you don't bring it into the light, it will darken everything else you touch. Do not believe the lie that you are powerless. If my spirit is in you, then resurrection lives in you. The same breath that raised Christ from the dead dwells within your bones, and there is no screen, no image, no memory, no fantasy, no secret appetite too strong for the Spirit of God to silence and heal and burn away until your soul stands clean again. But you must fight, not with the weapons of this world, not with shame, or silence, or willpower alone. You must fight with truth. When lust whispers, you answer with what is eternal. When your mind begins to wander toward the old patterns, you speak aloud what is real, that you are not a prisoner, that your body belongs to the Lord, that your heart is not cheap, that your worth was not purchased with pixels or praise, but with blood, and that nothing about this lie has ever brought life. It has only ever You must stop asking how close you can get to the edge without falling, and start asking how far you can run toward what is holy. Stop justifying what breaks you. Stop telling yourself you are in control of what already controls your hours, your thoughts, your peace, your worship. Call it what it is. Lust is not affection. It is not attention. It is not connection. It is a fire that consumes everything it touches, and leaves only ash where joy once lived. And yet, listen, you are not ash. You are not burned beyond recognition. You are not stained beyond grace. You are not too filthy for my hands to hold. You are not too tangled for my truth to untie. You are not too far gone for me to find. I have seen every secret. I have heard every cry. I have walked through every shame-filled room in your mind. And still I say, I want you. Still I say, I will help you. Still I say, you are not defined by the worst thing you've done. You are defined by the one who calls you home. So when the voice returns, and it will, do not be afraid. Do not run to it. Do not reason with it. Lift your head, and speak what it cannot survive. Say it out loud if you must. I am not yours. I am not built for this. I am not meant for hollow pleasure. I am not made to be filled and emptied, and forgotten. I am made for glory. I am made for truth. I am made for the presence of God, and I will not bow to something that cannot bless me. This is not your identity. This is not your destiny. This is not who you are. This is not the end of the story. This is the middle. This is the war. This is the moment the chain snaps, not because of how strong you are, but because you finally surrendered your struggle, and believed me when I said I will fight for you. I am not distant. I am not disappointed. I am not pacing the halls of heaven, waiting for you to fail again. I am here now, within reach, arms open, hands steady, voice clear, and I am calling you out of the cycle, not next year, not next month, now, because you can be free, because you are already loved, because you are not alone, because the lie has been exposed, and the light is already shining through. Your body was not made to betray you. It was made to reveal me. Every cell, every nerve, every rhythm of your breath was formed by my hand and spoken into existence with intention, with holiness, with honor. Yet, how easily the enemy takes what I designed to be sacred and twists it into something that feels cursed, turning your own flesh into a battlefield you never asked for, and leaving you confused about what is good, what is holy, and what is worth fighting for. Lust wants you to believe that your body is the problem, that your skin is a prison, that your desires are shameful, that your attraction is a weakness, and that the only way to feel peace again is to give it what it demands, to bow in the dark, and call that surrender healing, to indulge and then apologize, to repeat and then hide, to numb the conscience until it grows silent, and call that maturity. But I never created your body to be a burden, and your desire was not meant to torment you. It was meant to lead you to covenant, to joy, to intimacy that reflects the love of heaven, not the appetite of hell. You have felt it, The tearing inside your soul when your hands move before your spirit says yes. The ache in your chest when what you watched promised pleasure and left you in shame. The quiet disappointment when the moment ends and the guilt returns louder than before. The split inside your own heart where one part wants purity and the other part wants permission. And I see you there. I see you in the middle of that war. And I do not despise your weakness. I do not mock your fight. I step into it. I step into the places you locked from everyone else. The secret corners of your memory. The hallway of your regrets. The drawer where you put the things you said you'd never touch again, but couldn't throw away. And I speak not condemnation, but clarity. You were never meant to walk this battle alone, and the strength you thought you needed to beat this has never come from you. It comes from me. You feel like a hypocrite when you pray and then fall, like your worship is a lie because your thoughts wander, like your mouth says Jesus, but your mind says something else, like the name on your lips is not strong enough to clean what lives behind your eyes. And yet even in that tension, even in that broken place, I am working, I am not leaving, I am not disappointed in your fight, because the very fact that you are still fighting is proof that I have not let you go. Desire itself is not evil, but when it is uncoupled from truth, when it is severed from love, when it is divorced from holiness, it becomes lust, desire without direction, fire without a fireplace, hunger without a table. And you were never meant to starve in secret, when I have prepared a feast of covenant love, of intimacy that honors rather than hides, of union that blesses rather than breaks. The world tells you that you must express everything you feel or you will explode. But I tell you, you are not ruled by what rises in you. You are led by the Spirit, not by the flesh. And just because something is loud does not mean it is Lord. Just because something is natural does not mean it is noble. Just because something is human does not mean it is holy. And you have been called not to suppress your body but to surrender it, not to erase your desire, but to anchor it in truth. The lie of lust is that it offers connection, but what it truly brings is consumption. It takes what is meant to be given slowly and steals it quickly. It takes what is meant to be protected and sells it for convenience. It takes what is meant to be held with reverence and exposes it for entertainment, and then it leaves you empty, asking why you feel lonelier than you did before. But I tell you now, the answer is not in hating your body, it is in honoring it. The answer is not in cutting off your desire, it is in sanctifying it. The answer is not in shame, it is in surrender. You are not perverted simply because you are tempted. You are not defiled because you have desire. What matters is where that desire leads you, and I am offering you a path that leads to life, not the hollow echo of another night spent chasing shadows. Do not speak death over yourself. Do not say I'll never be free. Do not say this is just who I am. Do not say it's too late for me. These are not my words. I do not speak defeat over my children. I do not call you bound when I have died to set you free. I do not call you addicted when I have given you a new name, a new spirit, a new nature. And I have not given you a body to be battled against every day. I have given you a body to be inhabited by my presence, made pure by my blood, and lifted in glory as a vessel of my name. So let the war inside you begin to turn, not by force but by faith. Speak over your body the truth. It has forgotten. Say this is not an object, this is a temple. Say these eyes were made for light, not for lust. Say these hands were made to heal, not to hide. Say this mouth was made to worship, not to whisper shame. Say this heart beats with the rhythm of heaven, not the music of seduction. You are not a slave to your cravings. You are not a prisoner to your past. You are not defined by what you did last week or last night or the 1,000 nights before that. You are defined by what was done on the cross, once for all, and it was enough. The next time the fire rises, you do not need to burn. You do not need to run into the arms of lies and beg them for comfort. You do not need to bow to what has already been broken. You are not You are not hopeless. You are holy, because I have made you holy. And when I look at you, I see someone worth saving, worth fighting for, worth filling with strength even when they feel weakest. You are not your temptations. You are not your thoughts. You are not your lowest moment. You are my child, and I will teach you to walk in freedom, not by pretending lust does not exist, but but by proving that it no longer owns you. Lust lives in the dark because the dark protects it, not because it is strong, but because it is afraid, because it knows that once it is named it begins to lose its power, because once it is dragged into the light, it begins to shrink and rot like something that was never meant to grow in open air. It survives in silence, in secrecy, in the spaces where shame is louder than truth, where you tell yourself it's better not to speak, where you convince yourself that no one would understand, where you believe that exposure is the enemy. But I tell you the truth, what you hide will hold you, and what you confess I will cleanse. You were not made to carry this alone. You were not designed to hold sin in your mouth like glass, pretending it doesn't cut you while you bleed behind your smile. You were not created to walk into church with worship on your lips and war in your thoughts, trying to reach toward heaven while lust keeps its hand around your ankle, beneath the pew. You were not meant to learn how to fake purity while slowly dying inside. You need light, not to shame you, but to heal you. You need to speak, not to be judged but to be known. I already know. You must hear that clearly. I have seen every thought. I have heard every silent agreement you made with temptation. I have watched every moment when you said no, then yes, then maybe, then later. I have witnessed you close the window, open it again, turn your head away, then turn it back. I was there when you deleted the message, and then typed it again. I was there when you whispered, "I'll never do this again," only to return the next day, ashamed and confused and desperate for me to believe you. And I still do, because when I look at you I see someone at war, not a hypocrite, not a fraud, not a failure. I see someone who wants to be free, someone who is afraid of what others would say if they really knew, someone who is trying to walk in the light while carrying years of secrets like stones in their chest, someone who believes in grace, but doesn't know how to stop crawling back to the altar again and again for the same sin, wondering how long I will keep forgiving. Forever. That is how long, until your final breath. My mercy will meet you again and again, not so that you remain in bondage, but so that you never mistake your struggle for your identity. But if you want freedom, you must come out of hiding, you must speak, you must confess, you must break the agreement that says I can handle this alone, because alone is where lust has the most control. Alone is where it grows without resistance. Alone is where it tells you that no one else feels this way, that no one else falls like this, that no one else has made these mistakes, and those are lies. You are not the only one. There are thousands like you, men and women, young and old, leaders and learners, pastors and prisoners, all wrestling against the same voice, the same pull, the same shame, the same cycle, and every one of them needs the same truth. Silence does not save you. Secrecy does not sanctify you. Pretending to be free is not the same as being free, and there is no breakthrough without honesty. Confession is not weakness, it is warfare. When you confess, you do not just admit something, you strip the lie of its hiding place. When you speak what you have carried in secret, you tear down the throne where lust ruled in your silence. When you open your mouth and say, "I am not okay," you swing the door open for me to enter with healing, with clarity, with light that does not burn but restore. You are afraid that if you tell the truth, they will leave. You are afraid they will not see you the same. You are afraid they will use it against you. But I tell you this, fear keeps you in bondage more than sin does. It is fear of being known that lets lust live longer than it should. And you do not need to tell the world, you only need to tell someone who walks in light. Someone who will pray, not pity. Someone who knows grace because they have needed it too. Someone who does not flinch when you are honest. Someone who knows that holiness begins where honesty lives. And when you confess, not just to me but to others, healing begins to flow like water, not all at once, not in a single moment, but steadily, slowly, like a wound finally stitched and left to breathe. You will feel lighter, not because the temptation is gone, but because the weight of pretending has finally been lifted from your chest. You will feel stronger, not because lust disappears, but because it has lost its place as master. You will not be free until you choose light over silence. You will not walk in victory while you protect the very thing that destroys you. You must let the lie die. You must let the mask fall. You must say it, not just in prayer but out loud, to someone who can remind you who you are when your memory fails. You are not filthy. You are not irreparable. You are not too far. You are not your search history. You are not your private thoughts. You are not your lowest decision. You are not what lust made you feel like. You are my child. You are still holy. You are still loved. You are still wanted. And you can walk in freedom, but only in truth. The truth will make you free, but only when you stop hiding from it. So speak. Speak even if your voice shakes. Speak even if your heart pounds. Speak even if you don't know what will happen next. Speak, and let the silence break. Speak, and let the stronghold weaken. Speak, and watch the spirit begin to move. Speak, and know that I will never walk away. Lust does not begin with the body, it begins in the mind. Long before your hands move, long before your eyes wander, it starts as a thought, a seed, a subtle distortion that settles deep in the soil of your imagination, and if left unchallenged, it grows quietly, spreading its roots beneath the surface of your conscience, until one day you act and wonder how you got here. But the truth is you got here the moment you agreed with a lie. The mind is where the war begins, and too often, it is also where we surrender, not with bold rebellion, but with small permission, the kind that says just a glance, just a moment, just a thought, just a memory, just once more. You do not fall all at once. You slide slowly, step by step, thought by thought, desire by desire, and lust knows this. It knows how to build temples from compromise, how to craft altars from memories, how to turn imagination into idolatry, and craving into chains. But I have not given you a spirit of fear, or confusion or addiction. I have given you a sound mind, one that can be renewed, one that can be rewired, one that can be flooded with light, until the shadows begin to shrink, and the pathways you once walked in darkness are repaved with truth. You are not stuck. You are not doomed to repeat the cycle. You are not cursed to fall forever. You can be transformed, but transformation does not begin with what you avoid. It begins with what you believe. What you feed your mind will form your future. If you fill it with fantasy, fantasy will lead. If you dwell on defeat, you will expect failure. If you let old images play like sacred tapes in your mind, you will return to what once enslaved you. But if you fix your thoughts on what is good, what is noble, what is holy, what is lovely, what is true, your mind will begin to change, not all at once, but surely, steadily, like the rising sun over a land long lost in night. You must take your thoughts captive. You must not let them drift where they please. You must not allow your mind to become a gallery of temptation. You must speak to your mind with authority, not passively, not shamefully, but boldly, reminding it again and again that you are no longer owned by lust, that you are no longer subject to sin, that your mind has been claimed by the one who wore a crown of thorns, so that your thoughts could be washed clean. And when the old thoughts come, and they will, do not panic. Do not assume you have failed. Do not crumble in fear that you are not healed. It is not the presence of temptation that defines your freedom. It is your response. The fact that you see the lie for what it is now is proof that the spirit is alive in you. The fact that you feel the war in your conscience is evidence that you are no longer numb to what once controlled you. This battle is not evidence of your failure. It is confirmation of your transformation. Still, you must be intentional. You cannot allow lust to linger in your thoughts like a guest. You must not coddle the very voice that crucifies your peace. When the image appears, turn your eyes. When the memory returns, take it to the cross. When the voice says just one more time, answer with truth. Say, I am not made for this. My mind is not a playground for sin. My thoughts are no longer up for sale. I belong to Christ, and my mind will be holy, even if I must fight for it daily. You cannot stop the birds from flying over your head, but you can stop them from building a nest in your hair. Temptation will come, but it does not have to live here. The enemy may knock, but he has no key. You do not have to let him in, and if you have let him in before, then today, right now, you can shut the door. Let my word be your weapon. Do not leave your mind defenseless. Fill it with scripture, not as information, but as fire. Speak it aloud until your doubt trembles. Declare it until the atmosphere around you shifts. You are not fighting with empty hands. You are not walking blind. You are not begging for freedom. You are walking in it, one thought at a time. And yes, some thoughts will return more than once. Some will knock day after day. Some will test the door again and again, but each time you refuse them, they grow weaker. Each time you speak truth, your spirit grows stronger. Each time you interrupt the old pattern with a better word, the roots of the lie begin to wither. Do not expect your mind to change in a single day, but do expect that with each surrendered moment, I will meet you there. I will not leave you to fight alone. This is not just about avoiding sin. This is about forming a new way of thinking. This is about building new roads in your mind that lead not to shame, but to peace. This is about training your brain to long for what is holy. It is not impossible. It is not fantasy. It is not beyond you. It is the natural result of supernatural surrender. When you stop just trying harder and start believing deeper. Do not spend your life trying to erase every image that once lived in your head. Instead, drown them in my word. Do not try to forget. Let what once bound you now testify to the freedom I have begun in you. Do not obsess over your past. Obsess over my promises. Do not cling to the guilt. Cling to the cross. I will renew your mind, not with punishment, but with presence. I will fill your thoughts with peace that passes understanding. I will remind you who you are every time the voice of lust tries to tell you otherwise, and you will walk in freedom, not because your mind is perfect, but because it is surrendered, and that, my child, is where the war is won. You do not always return to lust because you crave pleasure. Sometimes you return to it because you are exhausted, because you are numb, because the weight of your responsibilities, your loneliness, your silence feels heavier than what your heart knows how to carry. And lust becomes not just a temptation, but a false refuge, a counterfeit comfort, a place where, for just a moment, you do not have to feel so alone. But it is a trap, not a shelter, a mirage of peace, not peace itself. And though it promises to hold you, it always lets you fall. Lust does not wait for strength to leave you. It looks for the first sign of weariness. And when your soul begins to sag under disappointment, when your prayers feel unanswered, when your heart feels unseen and your body unloved, that is when the old voice returns, not with rage but with warmth, not with fire but with a soft, familiar breath, the one that says, you know where to go for relief. You know what will make you feel better. No one has to know. You've been good for long enough. But lust does not comfort you. It comforts the craving and leaves the ache untouched. It quiets the noise for a moment and then raises the volume twice as loud when it's over. It gives you a place to hide from the pain, but not a place to heal. It numbs your loneliness just long enough for you to forget that it's growing deep. You are not meant to run to lust when life becomes too much. You are not created to treat sin like a sanctuary. There is only one refuge, only one place your soul can rest and not wake up in shame. Only one presence that doesn't use you and abandon you. Only one voice that speaks life over you without ever needing anything in return. I am that place. I am that voice. I am that presence. When the storm rises in your heart, I am not the one pushing you away. I am the one calling you to come close, to sit in the quiet and let me hold what you cannot, to breathe in the light that never burns out, to remember that you are not built to carry your burdens alone, and you were never asked to pretend you're fine when you're not. Come to me not only when you've resisted, but especially when you're struggling. Come not just when you feel clean, but when you are covered in the mud of your thoughts and can't imagine being loved. Come when you are angry, when you are confused, when your flesh is loud and your strength is gone, and you just need somewhere safe to fall without breaking. Come not with performance but with truth. Tell me what you feel, not just what you think you should say. Tell me you're tired of this fight. Tell me the temptation feels stronger today. Tell me it's hard to keep going. I will not turn away. I will not accuse. I will not compare you to someone stronger. I will not say you should be past this by now. I will say you are mine. I will say you are still my child. I will say let me carry you again. Lust offers escape, but I offer healing. Lust offers a moment of silence, but I give you a peace that remains when the moment is gone. Lust does not stay to clean up the mess. It leaves you on the floor, covering your eyes, covering your shame, too afraid to look up because you think I'll be standing there shaking my head. But I'm not. I'm kneeling beside you. I'm whispering again. Let's get up. I'm speaking softly so you'll remember what my voice sounds like. Not the voice of your addiction, but the voice that knew you before you learned how to fall. You do not need to hide from me anymore. You do not need to run to other arms when mine are already open. You do not need to numb your pain when I can heal it. I am your refuge, not just your rule. I am your home, not just your judge. I am your rest, not just your reminder to try harder. And I want you still. Do not let your flesh convince you that I am only pleased with you when you are winning. I was not surprised by this war. I did not pick you because you were flawless. I picked you because I love you. I picked you because I saw what I would build in you. I picked you knowing every chapter, even this one, and I still called you mine. So the next time the voice calls, the next time the screen glows, the next time the memory floods in like a tide you can't stop, the next time your body aches and your heart forgets, do not run toward the sin that wounded you last time. Run toward the one who wept for you. Run toward the hands that were pierced for your freedom. Run toward the grace that does not run out. If you fall, I will catch you. If you weep, I will hold you. If you confess, I will forgive. And when the shame rises again, tell it the truth, that you no longer live there, that you are not a citizen of darkness, that you are not welcome in the arms of lust because you already belong in mine. I am not far. I am not silent. I am not angry. I am near. I am speaking. I am mercy. And I am your refuge, now and always. You have heard the word before. Maybe too often. Maybe not deeply enough. The word holy. The word that sounds like distance. Like robes. Like silence in cathedrals and hands folded neatly in pews. The word that makes you think of angels too perfect to touch. Too clean to bleed. Too bright to understand the kind of darkness you've carried. But I tell you now, holiness is not about distance. It is not cold or unreachable. It is not a place for the perfect. It is the calling of the broken. It is the design written into your very bone. You were made to be holy, not just to behave well, not just to avoid shame, not just to control your impulses, but to walk as one whose life radiates my presence. To live with a heart set apart, a mind unpolluted by the lies of lust, a body not chained by craving, but filled with purpose, governed by peace, guided by truth. You were made to be holy, not eventually, but now, even here, even while you fight, even while you still feel the weight of temptation, even while your history tries to convince you that purity is too far behind you to ever return. Holiness does not begin when you stop sinning. Holiness begins when you say yes to me. It begins when you surrender. It begins when you bring the unholy parts into the light and say, God, take them too. It begins when you let me clean what you've stopped trying to fix on your own. It begins when you understand that holiness is not about being untouched. It is about being set apart. You cannot set yourself apart while holding on to what defiles you. You cannot cling to me and to lust at the same time. You cannot build an altar and a screen in the same space. You cannot keep fragments of the old life hidden and expect to walk fully in the new. Holiness means making room. It means choosing what feeds your spirit over what entertains your flesh. It means not returning to the grave when I've already called you out of it. It means trusting that what I've prepared for you is worth more than what lust offers now. The enemy will tell you that holiness is too high to reach, that you are too stained, too addicted, too far, too late. But the enemy is afraid of holy people, because holy people cannot be bought, cannot be seduced, cannot be shaken by temporary desire, because they have tasted something better, because they walk not in pride but in peace, because they know the power of clean hands, and a clean heart, and a conscience that does not flinch in the presence of God. You may not feel holy. You may still feel like the temptation is louder than your worship. You may still feel like your past is written in ink you cannot erase. But holiness is not a feeling. It is a posture. It is a direction. It is a decision made every morning to walk away from what once owned you and into the arms of the one who made you. And I see you making that decision, even when you fall. I see the tears that come after the compromise. I see the way you collapse onto your knees. Not because you're proud, but because you hate what still pulls at you. I see the way you close the door, shut the laptop, delete the message, throw away the idol, and then come to me, empty again, asking if I still want you. I still want you. Not after you fix it. Now. Your desire for holiness is proof that I am still working in you. Your hatred of sin, even if you still stumble in it, is evidence that my spirit is not done shaping your soul. The fact that you are reading this, praying this, crying out for freedom, asking for a clean heart, that is what holiness looks like in real time. It is not about perfection, it is about pursuit. You will stumble again, you will fall short again, but if your heart is mine, if your desire is for me, then I will lift you again, and the more you pursue me, the less power lust will have. Not because the temptation disappears, but because your appetite changes. What once satisfied you will begin to taste bitter. What once excited you will begin to feel hollow. What once owned your attention will begin to fade into irrelevance. Not because you've become numb, but because you've become filled with something greater. Holiness is not dry, it is not empty, it is not colorless and bland. It is rich, vibrant, full of laughter and love and presence. It is not the absence of desire. It is the transformation of desire. It is the place where you no longer crave what kills you. It is the place where the fire in you burns, not with lust but with love, not with longing for control but with passion for truth. It is not sterile, it is sacred. So do not think I have called you to be distant and lifeless. I have called you to burn for me. I have called you to overflow with joy. I have called you to stand clean, not so you can boast but so you can walk with me without fear. I have called you to be holy, not later, not when you get your act together, but now, in the middle of your fight, in the middle of your surrender, in the middle of the transformation that is already underway. You are holy, because I have made you holy. You are holy, because I have washed you. You are holy, because my spirit dwells in you. You are holy, not because you've never fallen, but because I keep raising you up. Walk in that truth. Let it fill your bones. Let it quiet the lie. Let it break the spell of lust when it tries to call you back. Say it out loud when you feel weak. I am holy. Say it when you feel tempted. I am holy. Say it when you fail and get back up again. I am holy, because I belong to the Holy One, and nothing can steal what I have spoken over you. Lust always tells you that what it wants is small. Just one glance, just one thought, just one night, just one moment to feel something again. But lust never tells you what it will cost you after the moment is over, because lust does not bargain in truth. It trades in blindness, and it never wants you to look past the moment. Never wants you to consider what you will lose. Never wants you to weigh what it is quietly stealing, while it offers you comfort. You have felt this already. You have tasted what happens when you listen. You have seen how fast the promise fades, and how long the silence stays. How sharp the regret becomes after the fire burns out. How heavy your chest feels when you realize you've given away another piece of your peace for nothing that lasts. You've watched the joy shrink, the clarity dim, the prayers lose their weight, and the hours afterward feel hollow, and still the voice returns, still the craving pulses, still the pattern waits like a path worn into your soul, familiar but fatal. There is always a price, not because I am cruel, but because what you give your heart to will shape your future, and what you feed in secret will grow even when no one sees it. And if you keep feeding lust, it will grow until it takes what you never meant to give: your confidence, your purity, your ability to look others in the eye without shame, your authority in prayer, your peace in stillness, your joy in worship, your sense of being whole, and sometimes even your relationships, your calling, your witness, your sense of self. Lust is not content with glances, it wants ownership. It is not content with moments, it wants access. It begins in the background but does not stay there. It starts small, but it never stays small. It grows when ignored. It multiplies when hidden. It gains power when left unspoken, and it feeds off your silence. I am not trying to scare you. I am trying to wake you. I am trying to remind you that this is not entertainment. This is erosion. That this is not harmless. This is a war for your soul. That your casual indulgence is carving deep trenches into the soil of your spirit. That the longer you excuse it, the more numb you become. And that numbness is not peace. It is the slow death of your sensitivity to the Holy Spirit. You think it is only about your body, but it is also about your mind, your worship, your calling, your confidence, your intimacy with me, your readiness for love that lasts, your ability to be fully present without shame, crawling through your thoughts. It is about your soul being undivided. What you allow now shapes who you will become later. What you tolerate in your private life becomes the ceiling of your spiritual life. What you call small today can become the voice that silences your boldness tomorrow. And if you keep trading away your peace for momentary pleasure, you will one day wake up and wonder where the joy went, where the fire went, where the presence went. Not because I ever left you, but because you kept inviting counterfeit comfort into the places I was meant to fill. There is always a price, and too often, you don't see what you're paying until it's gone. But even now, even if you have given much, I can still restore. I am the God of restoration, not just forgiveness. I do not just erase sin. I rebuild what it tried to tear down. I do not just wipe the stain. I restore what it covered. I give beauty for ashes, not just silence after the fire. I give songs for sorrow, not just time to forget. And if you return to me, if you bring your broken places without performance, without pretending, I will begin to restore what lust has taken, not instantly, not easily, but fully, deeply, slowly, like a spring that keeps flowing until even the dry places begin to bloom again. You must count the cost. You must pause before the pattern plays out again. You must ask, what will this cost me before you agree to the lie? You must picture the end, not just the beginning, because lust will never tell you what it costs. Only wisdom, and wisdom is calling now, not to shame you but to save you. You are too valuable to be sold for cheap pleasure. You are too sacred to be offered up for the approval of strangers, or the thrill of secret moments. You are too loved to be owned by what kills you. You are too called to stay quiet in your compromise. You have more to lose than you realize, but you also have more to gain than you remember. Holiness is not just the absence of shame, it is the presence of joy, of peace that does not evaporate, of love that does not demand payment, of clarity that remains even when temptation knocks. I have placed before you life and death, not because I want to test you but because I want to give you a choice. You are not a slave, you are not stuck, you are not locked into the pattern forever. You can turn now, you can step away from the edge before the next fall. You can look lust in the eye and say, I know what you cost me before, and you're not worth it anymore. Choose life, choose peace, choose truth, choose holiness, choose me, and let me show you that what you lost can be rebuilt, and what you feared would never return can still rise again. Your eyes were not made for lust. They were not made to scan and devour, not made to linger in secret hunger, or search for shadows that keep your soul chained to shame. Your eyes were made for light, for truth, for wonder, for beauty that does not corrupt, for love that does not wound, for the kind of sight that honors, not objectifies, that sees human beings, not fantasy, that sees image bearers, not instruments for gratification. But somewhere along the way, lust began to retrain your gaze. It taught you how to scan, not to see. It taught you how to notice flesh, but ignore the soul beneath it. It trained your eyes to look longer than you should, to imagine what was never offered, to consume the body but not acknowledge the person. It numbed your vision, made it mechanical, made it hungry, made it selfish. You stopped seeing people as sacred, and you started seeing them as potential, not potential friends, not brothers, not sisters, but potential outlets, potential wiles, potential ways to escape your ache. But I can teach your eyes to see again. This is not just about turning your head. This is about changing your heart. because where your heart goes, your eyes will follow. You do not just need discipline, you need restoration, you need holiness in your vision, you need reverence to return, because the way you look reveals the way you love, and lust has nothing to do with love. I see them, the ones you look at, the ones whose images you remember, the ones you've stared at too long, the ones you undressed in your thoughts, the ones you treated as background to your craving. I see them, not as objects, but as my creation, as sons and daughters, as people with stories, with wounds, with destinies. And I weep when you turn their worth into your entertainment. You think the sin lives only in your imagination, but it touches more than you know. It carves grooves in your soul and numbs the part of you that once knew how to honor. And I see you too. I see the war in your glance. I see the moment your eyes linger, and your heart pulls back. I see the ache in your spirit, when you catch yourself again, and feel the shame. I see the way you avoid looking altogether, because you no longer trust your own sight. I see how you stare at the floor, how you fear even beauty now, how you don't know if you'll ever be able to look and not laugh. But this is the miracle I am working in you, not that you will never see desire, but that your desire will no longer lead to distortion, that you will be able to look at someone with strength in your soul, and peace in your body, that you will see with dignity, not with desperation, that you will be able to walk through the world unafraid of your own gaze, because your gaze has been redeemed. You do not need to fear your eyes, you need to consecrate them, pray over them, guard them, speak life through them, close them when you must, turn them when you know it's right, train them, not like an enemy, but like a student, teach them the beauty of reverence again. You must understand, looking is not just about what's outside of you, it is a reflection of what lives inside, and if your mind is full of truth, your eyes will follow. If your heart is filled with my spirit, your glance will carry gentleness, not lust. Your sight will reflect the one who sees all things, and still chooses mercy. When you look, do you look to possess or to bless? When you look, do you look to consume or to understand? When you look, do you look with hunger or with holiness? I am not angry with your eyes. I created them. I am not ashamed of your desire. I designed it. But what I made for covenant, the enemy has used for corruption, and now I am taking it back. Let me retrain you, not with fear but with clarity, not with legalism, but with love. You do not need to live in shame every time someone walks past. You do not need to dread beauty, or turn your body into a battleground. You can look with peace again. You can see with honor again. You can be free, not just when your eyes are closed, but even when they are wide open. This is part of freedom, not just managing sin, but walking with clean sight, with lifted head, with open hands, with a heart that is not afraid to engage the world without being swallowed by it. You must practice this, not once but daily. You must notice when your gaze begins to drift into old patterns, and gently pull it back, not with self-hate, not with panic, but with grace. You must say, no, this is not who I am anymore. These eyes were made to see, not to see. These eyes were made for light, not shadows. These eyes belong to Jesus now, and I will help you. I will guide your eyes. I will fill your vision with wonder again, not lustful wonder, but holy wonder. I will teach you how to notice without consuming, how to appreciate without fantasizing, how to carry beauty and still walk in purity. You will not always need to flinch. You will not always need to fear yourself. You will be changed, not just in your behavior, but in your way of being. Your thoughts will slow, your breathing will steady, your hands will stop trembling, your eyes will stop hiding, and your soul will finally rest, because it will no longer be ruled by appetite, but led by truth. And when that happens, when you look and feel peace, when you walk past, and your heart is quiet, when you lift your head and see clearly, you will know that you have not just been taught to resist lust, you have been taught to see again. There is a lie that says you are weak, a lie that says you are bound to fall, that self-control is a burden too heavy for someone like you, that your cravings will always outpace your character, that no matter how much you pray or how long you try, the old habits will win again and again and again. But I tell you, self-control is not punishment. It is not a cage. It is not some religious chain wrapped around your freedom. It is a fruit, a gift, a shield, a sword, a holy strength born from my spirit that makes you more than flesh, more than appetite, more than what you used to be. You were never meant to be ruled by what rises in you. You were meant to carry authority. You were meant to walk through fire and not be burned, to stand in the presence of temptation and not bow, not because you are naturally stronger than others, but because I am forming in you a greater power, one that lives in your bones, in your breath, in your silence, one that whispers, no, even when everything in your body screams yes, one that remembers what truly matters, even when the moment tries to convince you it is everything. Lust does not play fair. It does not wait for your heart to be steady. It shows up when you're tired, when you're angry, when you're bored, when you're lonely, when you just want to feel something again. And it promises comfort, relief, satisfaction. But it always takes more than it gives. It always leaves you emptier than it found you. And after the fire dies down, it is not lust that stays with you. It is shame. It is regret. It is the ache of compromise. But I am not like lust. I do not offer fleeting escape. I offer enduring freedom. I do not tempt. I transform. I do not trick. I train. I do not burn you. I build you. And I am building in you the strength to say no, not just once, not just when it's easy, not just when you're strong, but in the hardest moments, in the quiet moments, in the real moments, when the pull is strong, and the night is long, and the voice in your head says, just give it. That is when my spirit will rise in you, not like noise but like clarity, not like fear but like fire, not like guilt, but like grace, and it will give you the power to walk away. Self-control is not about pretending the desire isn't there. It's about learning that the desire does not rule you anymore. It's not about silencing your urges. It's about surrendering them, not stuffing them down but handing them over, letting them be refined, letting them be reordered, letting them be made holy. Because your desire is not your enemy, it just needs a new master. The flesh wants to be fed immediately, but the spirit teaches you to wait. The flesh wants to own everything it sees, but the spirit teaches you to honor. The flesh wants to chase after shadows, but the spirit teaches you to crave only the light. You are not just learning how to say no to lust. You are learning how to say yes to something better. And every no you speak is an act of worship. Every no you whisper is a declaration of war against the old you, and a declaration of freedom in the name of Jesus. Do not despise your struggle. Do not roll your eyes at the discipline. This is where your real strength is being forged. This is the quiet gym of the soul where your roots are going deep. This is the place where lust starts to lose its grip, not because it stopped knocking, but because you stopped answering. You will feel the tension, and you are meant to. You will feel the stretch, the pressure, the discomfort. But this is what growth feels like. This is what freedom requires. The cross was not painless. Neither is holiness, but it is worth it. Every time you resist, even if you feel like you barely made it through, even if your hands shook, and your heart raced, and your thoughts swirled, heaven rejoiced, because something died in you, something false, something hollow, something you were never meant to keep, and something true came to life. You are not behind. You are not disqualified. You are not weak. You are growing. Let me walk with you in. I do not stand over you with disappointment. I walk beside you with power. I do not roll my eyes when you stumble. I reach down and lift you up, again and again, and again, until you are walking strong, standing tall, speaking no with confidence, not with fear. Because this is who you are becoming, someone who does not just survive temptation, but who speaks into it with holy boldness, and walks away without guilt. You do not belong to lust. You do not belong to your cravings. You do not belong to your past. You belong to me, and I am forming in you the power of a sound mind, the purity of clean desire, the strength to say no, the joy of saying yes to what actually satisfies. So do not grow weary in well-doing. Do not curse your fight. Do not compare your journey. You are being strengthened moment by moment, no by no, step by step. And what feels like struggle today will become your song tomorrow. One day you will look back and realize that what once felt impossible now feels natural, that what once ruled you no longer even tempts you, that what once owned your mind now has no place in your thoughts, because you let me teach you how to say no, not as a slave but as someone free. Lust is not always about desire. Sometimes it's about loneliness. Sometimes it's about the ache you don't know how to name, the hollow space in your chest that you try to fill with movement, with distraction, with sensation, with anything that makes you feel less alone. And lust arrives like a solution, like a friend, like an answer to a prayer you never had the words to speak, and it offers you a moment, just a moment, where you don't have to feel the silence so loudly. But that moment never lasts, because lust is a liar. It tells you it will hold you, but it lets you fall. It tells you it will understand you, but it only uses you. It tells you that what you feel is too heavy to carry alone, and then it leaves you to carry the guilt in silence when it's done. It deepens the ache it promised to soothe. It leaves you in the same place it found you, only quieter, more tired, more shamed. There is a reason the cycle keeps repeating. There is a reason the temptation returns, even when you've resisted 1,000 times. It is not just your lust that is crying out. It is your loneliness. It is your hunger to be seen without performance, to be touched without shame, to be chosen not for what you offer, but simply for who you are. And the world offers you a shortcut. It says this will feel like love, this will feel like connection, this will make the emptiness go away. But it doesn't. What you are really craving is not stimulation, it is intimacy. What you are truly longing for is not physical, it is spiritual. It is the voice that says, you are enough. It is the arms that will not let go after the moment ends. It is the kind of presence that does not ask you to perform, to impress, to earn, but simply invites you to be held. And I am that presence. You were made for communion, not consumption. You were made to walk with me, not to chase feelings that vanish before they heal you. And I know what it feels like to be alone. I know what it feels like to be misunderstood. I know what it feels like to be surrounded and still unseen. That is why I do not mock your ache. I move toward it. That is why I do not speak from a distance. I sit in the silence beside you and wait until you remember that I'm already here. Do not be ashamed of your need. I created you to need. I created you to reach, to long, to ache. The problem is not that you are hungry. The problem is where you go to feed the hunger. Lust offers fast food for the soul, but I offer a feast that does not end. I offer bread that does not rot. I offer water that makes you never thirst again. I offer love that does not use your body and forget your name. I offer myself, and I know there are nights when it feels like I'm far. I know there are moments when my presence feels too quiet, when your body screams, and your spirit seems still, when the craving feels louder than the cross. But I have not moved. I have not gone. I have not stopped loving you because of your ache. I am still the answer, not after the lust fades, not after you've proven yourself, but right now, in this moment, with your longing still in your chest. You do not need to numb it again. You do not need to run toward the false embrace. You do not need to return to what empties you. You can bring your ache to me. You can bring your silence. You can bring the need you were always too ashamed to speak aloud. You can say, God, I am lonely. God, I don't want to fall again, but I want something so badly it hurts. God, I don't know how to feel loved, and I will not turn away. I will not grow tired of hearing you. I will not say, you should be over this by now. I will say, I've been waiting. Let me meet you in your ache, not after it passes, but while it still presses heavy against your ribs. Let me sit with you in the moment, where you would usually fall. Let me speak louder than the scream, louder than the memory, louder than the echo of your old self. Let me remind you that you are not your craving, not your weakness, not your history. You are my beloved. And yes, I call you that. Even now, I call you that, not because of how strong you are, but because of how much I love you. I call you that, because when I see you wrestling in the dark, I see someone worth fighting for. I call you that, because my love is not dependent on your victory. It is what gives you strength to rise again when you fail. Do not run from your ache. Let it lead you back to me. Let it teach you how to pray when the words won't come. Let it pull you deeper into dependence. Let it remind you that no one else can fill the place in your soul that I shaped with my own hands. Let it make you honest again. Let it bring you low enough to see that grace is not just for the clean, it is for the desperate, the broken, the tired. And when you are tempted to say, I just need to feel something, let me be that something. Let my presence wrap around you like arms that do not take but give. Let my voice be the one that reminds you you're not invisible. Let my love be let me be the one you run to in the silence, in the ache, in the moment, when the craving knocks and you don't know what to do with your hands. I am here. You are not alone. You never were. Before there was guilt, before shame crept into the human heart, before desire was distorted by self and silence, there was a world without fear, a garden filled with light, where a man and a woman stood unclothed in the eyes of God, not just physically but in soul, in thought, in motive, and they felt no shame because love had not yet been corrupted by the counterfeit we now call lust. It was not purity by suppression, but purity by design, by communion, by the nearness of my breath, resting on their skin in the cool of the day. As I walked with them, not watching from a distance, but dwelling with them in fullness, in beauty, in open-hearted presence that needed no veil, no justification, no lies, only me, only them, and a love unbroken. And when the serpent came, he did not strike with violence, but with question, not with chains, but with suggestion. And he did not destroy the garden, he distorted the way my children saw it. He told them they were missing something, that what I had given them was incomplete, that obedience was limitation, and from that moment their vision changed. The body became something to hide, desire became something to fear, and intimacy with me became something to run from, rather than run toward. This is what lust does still. It warps the eyes before it touches the flesh. It whispers not in thunder, but in small half-truth, convincing you that what you crave is yours to take, convincing you that you are alone with this hunger, that you must feed it, or be devoured by it. But what it never tells you is that lust cannot satisfy what it awakens, because it was never meant to nourish, only to mimic the real thing, for a moment before vanishing, and leaving you emptier than before. But I never stopped calling you back. From the moment the garden closed behind you, I began building a path of return, not a return to innocence as if nothing ever happened, but a return to wholeness, a restoration of the heart that remembers it was made not for control, not for obsession, not for appetite without covenant, but for love rooted in holiness and clothed in my glory. And so when I call you to purity, I am not calling you to fear your own body. I am not asking you to despise desire. I am not commanding you to pretend that you are above temptation. I am calling you to remember who you are, before the world touched you, before the trauma, before the screen, before the secret shame, before lust began to shape your habits. I am calling you back to the voice that said you are mine, long before you ever gave yourself away. Purity is not about a perfect record. It is about perfect surrender, about placing your broken desire into my hands and letting me reshape it, not crush it, letting me refine it, not erase it, because desire is not your enemy, disorder is, and when I reign in your desire, it becomes holy again. It becomes fire that warms, not fire that burns. It becomes passion that honors, not passion that consumes. And suddenly, what once enslaved you becomes an offering on the altar. So many have taught you that being free from lust means becoming cold, distant, unaffected. But I tell you, true freedom is not numbness. It is clarity. It is walking past temptation, not with pride but with peace, knowing you have nothing to prove, nothing to earn, nothing to chase, because I am enough, and in my enoughness you are satisfied. You were never meant to be a consumer of bodies, or a prisoner of your urge, or a wanderer searching for love in places love has never lived. You were made for covenant, for connection deeper than skin, for a joy that does not end at climax, but begins at communion, and I have not taken that from you. I have only invited you to receive it in the way it was always meant to be received, clean, sacred, slow and surrounded by my presence. Do not let the world convince you that lust is freedom. It is not. It is addiction dressed up as pleasure. It is chains that look like choice. It is death that smiles sweetly before it takes from you all that was holy, all that was whole. But when you let me speak into your craving, when you allow my spirit to sit with your urge rather than rushing to silence it with indulgence, you will find a deeper satisfaction, one that requires patience, one that demands intimacy, one that cannot be downloaded or fantasized or faked, only received from me, through me and in me. And even if you have fallen 1,000 times, even if you have stories written in secret, that you pray no one ever reads, even if your mind has been a battlefield so long you no longer remember what peace feels like, I say to you now, it is not too late to return to the garden, because the garden is not a place, it is a presence, and I am that presence, and I am not ashamed of you. I do not flinch at your memories, I do not recoil from your history, I reach out and say, walk with me again. You think the battle begins with your hands, but it begins long before that. It begins in the shadows of thought, in the silent glance that lingers, in the story you replay in your mind when no one is watching, in the quiet moments when you feel unseen and the ache begins to speak more loudly than truth. The war is not only against what you do, it is against what you allow yourself to believe, because long before your body moves, your thoughts have already wandered, your imagination has already touched what it was never meant to hold, and your mind, once made to be a temple, becomes a theater of compromise. But I did not make your mind to be a battleground forever. I made it to be a garden, a place where peace grows, a place where my spirit walks freely, a place where lies are not welcome, and truth is not a whisper, but a river. So understand this. Freedom from lust is not merely about controlling impulses. It is about taking back territory, reclaiming the inner places that you surrendered in exhaustion, in pain, or in confusion, and letting me plant something holy where weeds have taken root. You cannot defeat what you still nurture in secret. You cannot break free from what you feed in silence, and you cannot renew your mind with truth, while still entertaining the lies that keep you bound. Lust always begins with a suggestion, and that suggestion often sounds like a promise. It says this will make you feel better. It says, just one more time. It says you're not hurting anyone. But those words are poison, because every time you return to what you know leaves you empty. Your heart becomes less sensitive, your soul grows quieter, and shame begins to build its walls. Not with bricks but with repetition. I do not come to accuse you for the thoughts you've had. I come to rescue you from the patterns that are trying to destroy you. This is not about morality without love. This is not about fear without mercy. This is about healing, because lust is not a mistake. It is a wound that keeps reopening, and I am not only your teacher, I am your surgeon. Let me cut away the infection. Let me clean the places that you've hidden from even yourself. Let me show you where the lie began, so I can speak truth into that very spot. I know the images you've seen that you can't forget. I know the fantasies that have become familiar. I know the internal war you face between craving and conviction. But I also know this. You were not created to live in that tension forever. There is a life where peace is not just possible, but present. There is a path where your thoughts no longer turn inward in secret, but upward in worship. There is a freedom that does not depend on willpower, but on surrender, not the kind of surrender that leads to defeat, but the kind that leads to joy. Because when you surrender your mind to me, I do not take your thoughts away, I transform them. I teach your eyes to see different. I teach your soul to desire what is good. I teach your imagination to dream of covenant instead of control, of purity instead of power, of love instead of lust. And it begins with the smallest prayer, not make me strong, but make me whole, because strength can still fall, but wholeness walks in truth. So when the thought enters, and it will, do not panic, do not collapse into shame, do not believe the lie that you are the thought. You are not your temptations. You are not your impulse. You are not the mental image that flashed through your mind like a spark in the dark. You are a child of the light, and light is not afraid of temptation. It exposes it, gently but completely, and in the light of my presence, Those thoughts cannot thrive, they shrink, they wither, they die, but not through force, through attention, through proximity to me, through a mind no longer led by craving, but by communion. I did not call you to fight this alone. I did not design your mind to be a battlefield forever. You are not weak for being tempted. You are only vulnerable when you isolate. So bring me in. Let my word fill the silence. Let my voice be louder than the image. Let my truth be your meditation when the night grows long and the desires rise strong. And when you fail, because there will be moments, do not stay there. Do not let the voice of condemnation speak longer than the voice of your Father. Come back quickly. Return to me immediately. Let me wash your mind again. Let me remind you of your name again. Let me draw you out of the corner where shame tells you to stay, and into the wide open field of grace, where sons and daughters still run free. You do not need to win this war by yourself. You only need to stop fighting me, because I am not your judge in this moment. I am your refuge, and your mind, though weary, though worn, though bruised by images and haunted by memories, is not beyond restoration. I can make it new, not by erasing your past, but by redeeming it, not by removing every thought, but by transforming how you respond, not by giving you a perfect record, but by walking with you every step, until holiness becomes not something you strive for, but something you live in. This is what it means to be renewed. This is what it means to be truly free, not just on the outside, but in the deepest parts of your mind, the very place where it all begins. You lay your head down on the pillow and close your eyes, not to escape the day, but because your soul longs for rest. And yet, as soon as the silence wraps itself around your body and the stillness begins to grow thick like fog in a valley, something darker often comes too, not a shadow you can see with your eyes, but one that wraps around your imagination, a presence that carries the scent of old sins, a whisper that reopens doors you've tried to close. And in that moment, where dreams should bring peace, lust comes wearing the faces you once stared too long at, the voices you once welcomed, the touches you once allowed, and though your body is still, your soul starts trembling again. You were not made for that. You were not created to fall asleep afraid of your own mind. You were not designed to spend 1/3 of your life in torment, reliving what I already forgave, entertaining what I already removed, watching again what I died to set you free from. Lust is not confined to daylight, because what you allow into your eyes by day, if left unhealed, will walk through the corridors of your mind by night. And if you do not surrender your subconscious to me, if you do not invite my spirit into even your sleep, you will think that this is just how it is, that dreams are beyond redemption, that rest can never be pure, but that is a lie, whispered by the same enemy who twisted your desire in the first place. I want your dreams back. I want to stand in the center of your sleep like a lighthouse in the middle of a storm, not to shame you, not to punish you, not to condemn you for what flashes through your thoughts without permission, but to shine light so blindingly bright that even the faintest shadows of lust cannot linger in the corners of your consciousness. Do not believe the lie that your dreams are who you are. They are not your identity. They are echoes of battles fought. They are fragments of former chains. And if you hand them over to me night after night, if you invite me to guard your mind as faithfully as I guard your soul, you will begin to see that even while you sleep, I am healing what you thought was untouchable. For I am not only the God of your waking hours, I am the God of your rest. I am the keeper of your breath when it slows in the dark. I am the shepherd who watches when the wolves come with soft steps and smooth voice. I am the one who sings songs over you that silence temptation and cradle your spirit in words no screen has ever offered, no fantasy has ever replicated, no lustful thought has ever countered, because my voice is more beautiful than any desire you once chased in secret. Let me speak into your sleep. Let me wash your memories. Let me silence the fantasies that were never supposed to live in you. Let me enter the places you thought were unreachable, places where even your own prayers fade to murmurs, because I do not need loud words to enter. I only need invitation, and I will come, not to erase what happened, but to redeem it, not to scold the dreamer, but to restore the dreaming, not to replace your mind with something new, but to make holy what I already gave you. Your sleep is sacred when I am in it. Your bed is not a battleground when I stand beside it. Your dreams are not playgrounds for sin when they become altars of my presence. So tonight, before you drift, speak this not as a ritual but as a surrender. Say to me, "Come into my mind, Lord," not just when I'm thinking but when I'm dreaming. Speak to me not just through scripture but through silence. Guard me not just from what I do, but from what I cannot even predict. Take my imagination and write your truth inside it, because even the parts of your soul you do not control are not outside my reach, and even the places where lust once hid can become cathedrals of clarity. If you will let me speak where you once stayed silent, if you will give me what you were afraid to name, if you will allow me to breathe over you while you sleep, then I will do what you never could in your own strength. I will change the narrative in your night. You will not wake ashamed. You will not wake empty. You will not wake bound to the feelings that once rose from the pit of memory. You will rise refreshed. You will rise restored. You will rise knowing that even in your most defenseless hours, I fought for your purity and I won. And when you begin to rest without fear, you will begin to live without compromise. This is my promise to you. Even the dark will not be dark to me. Even your sleep can be sacred again. Even your dreams can be holy. Lust is not simply about desire. It is about identity, for when it first speaks to you, it does not come as a monster in the night, but as a whisper in the dark, saying not only want this or look at that, but something far more dangerous. It says this is who you are, and if you believe it even for a moment, it will begin to shape your thoughts, your feds, your silence, and your shame, until you cannot separate what you do from who you are, and the lie becomes your reflection. But you are not what you crave, and you never were. You are not the sum of your fantasies, not the total of your hidden browser tabs, not the echo of the videos you watched at midnight while everyone else was asleep, and you pretended not to feel hollow, not the memory of what you did when no one was watching. You are not your lowest choice, not your greatest temptation, not your secret shame, not your repeated mistake. You are not your struggle. And I never named you according to your weakness. I called you child when you could barely crawl toward me. I called you loved before you knew how to receive love. I called you mine while you were still trying to buy the approval of the world with your body and your performance and your pain. And I have not changed my mind about you, not once, not after the third fall or the 30th, not after the failed promises to quit, not after the nights you cried and still went back. Not after the numbness that followed the thrill. I have not walked away. The world will tell you to accept your cravings, to embrace them as truth, to carve your identity out of what feels natural, and call it freedom. But freedom is not the absence of boundaries, it is the presence of truth, and the truth is not that you are broken beyond repair, it is that you have been wounded and deceived and misnamed, and I have come to restore what lust has tried to rewrite, not just your behavior, but your reflection, your name, your design. You were created in my image, which means every part of you, even your desire, was meant to reflect me, not to be crushed, not to be denied, but to be redeemed, refined, filled with something so much better than quick pleasure and cold regret, filled with the kind of intimacy that does not leave you aching when it's over, but instead draws you closer to the one who made you whole. The voice of lust will always speak fast and low, promising satisfaction without consequence, intimacy without commitment, love without God. But it is a thief, and it always takes more than it gives. It steals time, it steals joy, it steals the way you see others, and the way you see yourself. And when it is done taking, it whispers one more lie. This is who you are now. But I break that lie today. You are not what you crave. You are what I created. You are not your impulses. You are my image bearer. You are not filthy. You are being made clean. You are not addicted. You are being set free. You are not too far gone. You are in the middle of a rescue. And even now, even in this very moment, even if you still feel the weight of temptation sitting heavy on your chest, even if the guilt is still burning on your skin like fire, I am not looking at you with disgust. I am not turning my face from you. I am not counting your sins on a chalkboard. I am reaching, with nail-scarred hands, with eyes that see everything, and still choose mercy, with a voice that calls not the righteous, but the desperate, not the perfect but the willing, not the already holy, but the ones who long to be whole. So bring me your craving, not your cleaned-up version of it, not your excuses for it, not your fake repentance soaked in fear. Bring me the real thing, raw and trembling and honest, and I will not shame you. I will not strike you. I will not condemn you. I will meet you there and begin the healing not just of your behavior, but of your very sense of self. Because lust doesn't just make you sin, it makes you forget your name. And I came to remind you, you are not what you did, you are who I died for. You are not your failure, you are my restoration in progress. You are not your craving, you are my child. And when you know that, not in your head but in the marrow of your soul, the grip of lust begins to weaken, because its power is not in your flesh, it is in your agreement. And the moment you stop agreeing with the lie, it starts losing its voice. You are not what you crave, you are what I created, and I do not make mistakes. Lust is never patient, never gentle, never concerned with tomorrow, for it only lives in the urgency of now, whispering that satisfaction cannot wait, cannot be denied, cannot be redirected, and in that rush, it tramples what love was meant to protect. It strips the soul of sacredness, and leaves behind the shell of something that once resembled intimacy, but now only echoes with absence. It promises closeness, but produces isolation. It offers attention but delivers emptiness. It mimics connection, while quietly dismantling trust, until even your longing to be known begins to feel dangerous, until you no longer believe that true love can be clean, holy, or slow. Because lust has taught you that desire must devour or die. But what lust destroys I can rebuild, and what it perverts, I can make pure again. Love, unlike lust, does not consume, it covers, it nurtures, it lingers when the thrill fades, and the flesh no longer impresses. It seeks the soul before the skin, the heart before the hunger, and it never asks for you to empty yourself, for temporary comfort, because it offers itself fully without demanding you prove your worth first. Yet when lust rules the body, the heart grows quiet, and the mind is trained to see others not as wonders but as windows for escape, as mirrors for ego, or as shadows for fantasy, until the image of God in others becomes obscured by the glare of your own unmet need, and what was once sacred becomes transactional, fragmented, silent, cold. That silence, child, is where I meet you, not to accuse, not to replay the reel of your regrets, not to cast you deeper into shame's dungeon, but to hold your face in my hands, and remind you that you were made to build love, not borrow it from illusions, not steal it from screens, not substitute it with impulse, not mimic it through fantasy that always fades before morning comes. For I am love, and I am not a performance. I am the voice that calls you by name, when no one else knows the ache in your chest. I am the one who does not measure you by your moments of strength, but calls you precious, even in the fallout of your weakness. I am the God who does not flinch at your scars, who is not disgusted by your failure, who is not discouraged by how many times you've tried to stop, but delights in every moment you return, even crawling, even crying, even confused, because I see what you were created for, and I do not give up on what I've called good, and I called you good. When I breathed my spirit into dust, and made man, I did not mix in addiction, I did not lace you with shame, I did not weave you with wires of compulsion. I shaped you with dignity, clothed you in purpose, anointed your body with value, and said that it is not good for man to be alone, because even in Eden, I made it clear that intimacy is a gift, not a god. But lust wants to be worshipped. It wants your time, your focus, your nervous system, your imagination, your private hours and your hidden thoughts. It wants you bowing silently in front of a screen, or pacing the floor in torment, searching for something that looks like love but never stays long enough to hold your heart, only long enough to remind you what it costs each time you let it in. But I have come not to shame you for opening the wrong doors. I have come to be the door that leads to life. And that life is not shallow or sterile, it is rich, embodied, joy-filled, alive with presence, and grace, and eyes that do not scan for perfection, but settle on the soul. You were not made for pleasure that fades before the heartbeat calms. You were made for the kind of love that wraps itself around your wounds and still stays, that sees your history and still reaches for your hand, that knows your weakness and still calls you lovely, not because of what you do but because of who you are in me. So let me teach you again how to love. Let me show you how to hold someone without turning them into a source of escape, how to speak without seduction, how to listen without objectifying, how to see beauty without needing to possess it, how to be whole without needing another person to fix what lust tried to tear apart. And let me show you how to love yourself, not the version of you that performs purity perfectly, not the cleaned-up image you present to the world, but the version of you that is still learning, still healing, still tempted, still trembling, because even in that state, I call you beloved. Yes, I know what you've done, and still I say it, you are beloved, and no desire, no memory, no pattern, no lie can take that name away, unless you let it. So come back to me, even now. Come not with self-hatred but with surrender. Come not with fear of punishment but with hope for restoration. Come not trying to impress me with your improvements, but offering me your brokenness with open hand. Because I did not call you to fight lust alone. I called you to walk with me through fire and flood, and shame, and shadow, and to discover that even when you do not feel strong, my spirit within you is strong enough to silence the storm, and speak peace into the places where chaos once ruled. And when lust knocks again, and it will remember this, you are not what it tells you, you are not what you crave, you are not what you once believed, you are what I formed, what I chose, what I have never stopped pursuing, and what I will continue to redeem, day by day, moment by moment, thought by thought, until even your desire becomes a place of worship, not warfare. You are becoming free, and freedom, real freedom, begins when you believe you were worth saving in the first place. There is a war that no one sees, a quiet battle fought in the secret place where no applause can reach and no shame can hide. A war not of weapons but of whispers, not of flesh but of the desires that twist beneath it. For lust does not begin in the body, it begins in the soul, in the place where longing waits to be understood, where wounds ache to be soothed, where the ache for love misinterprets itself as hunger for possession. And this is where the true war begins, not when your eyes look, but when your heart forgets who you are. This is not the kind of battle others can fight for you because it takes place in your quietest hour, in the middle of the night when temptation comes, not with a roar but with a sigh, when it does not ask you to fall but simply to lean, to compromise just slightly, to indulge just briefly, to convince yourself that one more time is not really slavery, that a little fire won't burn, that you can quit any time, and yet you know deep down that you have said those words before, and each time you did, the chains grew quieter, but tighter. But I do not shame you for this battle, child. I do not turn away from your trembling hands or your dry prayers or your weary spirit. For I am not the God who expects you to heal yourself. I am the God who enters the fight with you, who stands beside you when your knees buckle, who whispers truth when every thought in your mind screams for comfort, who does not abandon you when the shadows of your past return in full force. You must understand that lust does not seek to please you, it seeks to own you. It studies you, it memorizes your patterns. It grows quiet when you grow strong and returns when you grow tired. It does not love you, it uses you, and once it is finished using you, it calls you worthless, and then offers itself again as your only comfort. And this is how it builds the cage, slowly, sweetly, silently. But even cages that feel familiar are still prisons. And I did not make you to live behind bars made of shame and repetition. I made you to walk in gardens of peace, to live without hiding, to stand without fear of being found out, to love and be loved without wondering if you are only wanted for what you offer, to rest in your own skin without guilt, laced into every breath. Yes, lust is strong, but it is not stronger than the spirit I placed within you. And yes, the battle is real, but you do not fight it without weapons. For I have given you more than willpower and guilt. I have given you truth, and truth is not merely information. It is a sword, it is light in the darkness. It is a name that cannot be erased, and that name is beloved. You are not your urges. You are not the storm that passes through your thoughts. You are not the collection of images that play in the back of your mind when no one is looking. You are not the sin that waits in the silence, you are the temple I dwell in. Do not call yourself a failure because you still feel the pull of lust, because temptation is not defeat and struggle is not shame. The presence of the war is not a sign that you've lost, it's a sign that your soul is waking up, that your spirit has refused to make peace with what is killing your joy, that something in you still knows the difference between what looks good and what truly is good. And when the voice of lust says you'll never change, I speak louder still, you are changing, even now. When it says you are addicted, I say, you are being renewed. When it says you'll never be free, I say, you already are, you just haven't seen the chains fall yet. Because freedom begins not when the struggle ends but when your heart agrees with me instead of with the lie. You are more than a man trying not to sin. You are more than a woman trying not to break. You are my son. You are my daughter. You are being healed cell by cell, thought by thought, memory by memory, and I will not leave until every corner of your soul remembers that it was made for holiness, not the dry, empty version of holiness that avoids pleasure, but the true kind, the deep kind, the kind that is so full of beauty that lesser things no longer hold appeal. And yes, it will take time, and yes, you will fall along the way, and yes, I will still be here every time, arms open, voice steady, eyes clear, because I have already seen your ending and it is glory, it is free, it is whole, it is full of love, that no longer competes with lust because it has been baptized in truth, and cleansed in mercy and sealed with joy that will not be taken. So fight, not with fear but with faith, fight, not with shame but with vision, fight, not to prove you are pure but because you already are in me, by me, through me. The war is real, yes, but so is your healing, and I am the Lord who heals you. There is a kind of looking that honors, and a kind of looking that consumes one sees with light, the other with fire, and though both begin in the eyes, their roots run far deeper, for what the eye desires is often shaped by what the heart has believed. And if your heart has been taught that you are only valuable when wanted, only worthy when chased, only whole when touched, then your eyes will scan the world not to see beauty but to seek worth through it, and you will mistake hunger for love and lust for connection and attention for meaning, even while your soul quietly starves beneath the surface of your longing. This is why I do not simply ask you to look away, I ask you to look again, but this time with eyes that I have healed. Eyes that see not only bodies but stories, not only skin but souls, eyes that are not ruled by fantasy but led by compassion, not blinded by craving but opened by grace, because to be free from lust is not to become numb to beauty, it is to be filled with a beauty so radiant that false substitutes can no longer hold your gaze. It is easy to say guard your eyes as if the eyes alone are the problem. But what good is closing your eyes if your heart still worships what breaks you? What good is turning away from the screen if your soul still believes that you are less than unless you are desired, still believes that pleasure is the only path to peace, still believes that longing must be silenced with sensation, instead of understood with love? So I do not just close your eyes, I clean them. I do not just forbid the image, I fill the imagination with something better, with the vision of who you truly are, of who others truly are, of what it means to see and not devour, to notice and not possess, to admire without chaining the admired to your desire. You see, lust does not begin with what you look at, it begins with what you lack, and what you lack is not more discipline, not more rules, not more shame, but the deep revelation that I made your eyes to reflect my gaze, not to wander in craving but to anchor in love, not to feast on fantasy but to focus on what is true and noble and pure. Because you cannot lust after someone you see as my child, you cannot lust after someone you pray for, you cannot turn a temple into a tool if you first kneel before its maker, and this is why the eyes must be taught again how to see, not through filters of shame or suppression or self-hate, but through my presence, through eyes that have looked into your failure and still called you mine, through eyes that watched you return again and again and never turned away, through eyes that see not just what you've done but who you are becoming, and rejoice. So when you feel when the glance turns to fantasy, when the scroll turns to obsession, when the moment of curiosity becomes a moment of compulsion. Pause, not just to resist, but to return. Return to me in that very moment. Whisper my name under your breath. Lift your eyes not in disgust of yourself, but in dependence on me, and I will meet you there, not to punish but to protect, not to lecture, but to lift, not to scold but to strengthen, because I am not ashamed of you, and I am not surprised by your weakness, and I will not leave you to battle alone. I will teach your eyes to see again. I will teach your hands to honor again. I will teach your mind to dwell on what brings peace instead of chaos, what brings dignity instead of division, what brings life instead of the momentary high that always demands more and always gives less. Lust does not end because you hate it. It ends because you fall in love with something greater, and that greater thing is not just morality. It is me, the living God, the one who sees you and still chooses you, the one who knows how many nights you've failed and still sings over you in the morning, the one who has seen every version of you and still calls you home. So let your eyes be lifted not in fear but in worship. Let your gaze return not to the shadows but to the cross. Let your attention drift not into the past of who you were, but forward into the person I am building even now, a man or woman not ruled by lust, not defined by urges, not chased by shame, but rooted in love, anchored in truth, trained to see with holiness and to walk with reverence. Your eyes were not made to wander, they were made to worship, and when your eyes become full of light, your whole body will follow. You will walk not in obsession but in overflow, not in secrecy but in sacredness, not in cycles but in freedom, that grows deeper with every glance that is surrendered, with every thought brought to me, with every memory given back into my hands, and I will not let you go, for I am the one who sees every part of you, and still desires all of you. I am not looking away, I am looking at you now, and my eyes are full of love. The body was never the problem. The body was never the enemy. The body was not the source of sin, but the temple of my spirit, the work of my hands, the dust that I shaped with intention and breathed into with life. And yet so many of my children walk through this world burdened by it, suspicious of it, ashamed of what I once called good, not because they have seen the body through my eyes, but because lust has corrupted their gaze, because they have been taught not to honor their flesh, but to hide it, to cover it, not with dignity but with guilt, to believe that desire itself is dirty, when in truth, desire was my invention, my language, my divine longing to be known. But lust is not desire. It is the distortion of desire, the twisting of what was once pure into what now consumes, the taking of something beautiful and using it to fill a void that it was never meant to fill, the reaching not for love but for escape, not for union but for control, not for wholeness but for distraction from pain. And this is why lust cannot be cured by starving yourself of beauty. It must be healed by returning beauty to its rightful place. For the body is not a weapon. The body is not a curse. The body is not bait. The body is not weakness. It is glory wrapped in clay. It is heaven's echo in human form. It is where spirit meets skin, where eternity touches time. And when you treat it with reverence, when you care for it not because you idolize it but because you understand that I reside within it, then you begin to unlearn the lies that lust has written into your bone. You begin to see others, not as objects to satisfy your cravings, but as living images of my breath, sacred vessels with their own stories and scars and dreams. And the moment you see someone through the lens of my love, lust loses its grip. Because love cannot share a table with lust. Love cannot consume what it also protects. Love cannot exploit what it also treasures. And when you love someone as I do, you cannot use them, and that includes yourself. Because so many of you have not just lusted after others, you have used your own body as a tool of transaction, a silent offering to loneliness, a bargaining chip with your own worth. And I need you to know this, beloved. You do not have to perform to be precious. You do not have to hide to be holy. You do not have to punish yourself into purity. I do not want your fear, I want your heart. I am not impressed when you hate your body. I am moved when you bring it to me, not in perfection, but in surrender, when you say, "Here I am, Lord." Tired of this war, tired of pretending, tired of cycles I cannot break, And in that moment I do not step back from you. I draw near, I kneel into your ache. I gather you into my arms like a father who finds his child curled up in shame. And I speak peace into the place where silence once ruled. You were not made to spend your life at war with your own skin. You were not made to flinch at the sight of your reflection, to dread your own touch, to view intimacy as a battlefield where guilt and longing fight for dominance. No, you were made for more. And when I call you free, I do not mean you will never feel the pull again. I mean you will no longer be ruled by it, no longer defined by it, no longer enslaved to it, because even when the craving rises like a storm, you will know where to run. You will remember that you are not alone, and you will find that my spirit speaks louder than your urges when you give it the space to breathe. So let this body become holy again, not because you earned it but because I washed it. Let your hands be holy not because they never trembled but because they now create instead of consume. Let your eyes be holy not because they never wandered but because they now see with mercy. Let your mind be holy not because it never doubted but because it now knows where to return. Let your soul be holy because I have called it so, and what I call clean, no accusation can make unclean. There will be moments when you feel the old you rise, the glances, the thoughts, the old reflexes whispering, just this once. But remember this, child, you are not a slave trying to pretend you're free. You are a free one, learning how to walk in that freedom. And I am patient, I am kind. I am not counting your failures, I am counting your returns. And every time you choose to walk away from what once owned you, every time you shut the screen, every time you cancel the thought before it blooms, every time you say my name instead of giving in, I celebrate it, and heaven rejoices. Not because you earned my love, but because you are learning how to live in it. This is not about repression, this is about resurrection. This is not about gritting your teeth, this is about lifting your head. This is not about denying your humanity, this is about remembering your divinity, the part of you that was made in my image, the part of you that lust cannot touch, the part of you that remembers Eden, even now, and longs not for fire but for peace. And peace is what I give you now. Peace for the shame that still clings. Peace for the mistakes you made even after promising not to. Peace for the parts of you that feel too broken to name. Peace for the memory of every night you wept alone, wondering if this struggle would ever end. I tell you again, yes it will, because I am the God who finishes what he starts. I am the author and the finisher, and what I began in you, this cleansing, this unlearning, this awakening, I will carry it all the way to completion. Not because you deserve it but because I love you, and I will never stop loving you, not even when you run, not even when you fall, not even when the world calls you by your sin. I will still call you by your name, free, holy, mine, and soon even your body will believe it. You who have walked through fire and shadows, who have wrestled in secret while smiling in public, who have wept over the same sin more times than you can count, listen now. For I do not speak to the version of you that failed. I speak to the one rising, the one being remade even as these words unfold, the one who has not only been forgiven but is now being filled, not just cleansed but claimed, not just washed but welcomed. For you are no longer a slave, and this is not a future promise. This is a present reality. You are no longer chained to the patterns that mocked you, no longer bound to the urges that chased you in the silence. No longer defined by what you couldn't resist, no longer under the weight of shame that whispered, you'll never change, because I have broken what once bound you. I have shattered the lie that said your freedom was fragile. I have declared you clean, not once but forever, and I do not take back my word. I do not regret my mercy. I do not flinch when you fall. I reach when you fall. I lift when you fall. I build again what you thought was beyond rebuilding. You are not the same, even if the feelings still rise, even if the thoughts still come, even if your flesh still remembers, your spirit has been made new, and though the enemy will accuse and the old voice will say, you are just pretending, I remind you now, you are not pretending to be free. You are learning how to walk in what has already been purchased, learning how to move in armor that already fits, learning how to live as one who is loved, because for too long you have believed that freedom means never feeling temptation. But true freedom is not the absence of desire, it is the presence of power, and I have placed that power within you. The same spirit that raised me from the grave now dwells in your body, not visiting occasionally, not conditional upon your performance, not withdrawn when you stumble. No, he remains, and he reminds, and he strengthens, and he speaks when the craving rises. You do not belong to this anymore. You do not need to run back to chains. You are not the sum of your weakness. You are the temple of God. Let this truth settle like oil over old wounds. You have been set free from the lie that lust is love, from the belief that pleasure will quiet your loneliness, from the cycle that made you feel powerful for a moment and powerless for days, from the fantasy that promised peace and only birthed emptiness. You are free to see with eyes that no longer crave what wounds, free to touch with hands that no longer grasp what harms, free to walk without the weight of secrecy, without the cold silence of shame, free to stand even in weakness, and know that your strength is not in your willpower but in my presence, free to love others without the hidden hunger to consume them, free to look in the mirror and see not failure but transformation, free to dream again, to breathe again, to live as if heaven is not far away, but here now within you. You are not what you did. You are not the image you clicked. You are not the thought you entertained. You are not the memory that once held you hostage. You are mine, and I am proud to call you mine. I saw every stumble and did not step back. I heard every cry and did not remain silent. I witnessed the nights of shame, and I came closer. I watched you return again and again, and not once did I say enough. Instead I said still mine, still loved, still worth redeeming, still worthy of a future, because my love does not give up. And now I speak over you what the world could never say, what your inner critic could never imagine, what your past cannot erase. I call you holy, holy, not because your record is perfect, but because my blood is holy, not because you never failed, but because I never left, holy, not because you feel it, but because I declared it. And if I call you holy, then let no voice, not even your own, call you anything less. The chains are gone. The prison door is open. You can stop looking back at the ruins. You can stop rehearsing the failures. You can stop bowing to the ghosts. Step out into the light. Let your heart believe it this time. Let your spirit stretch its wings. Let your mouth sing again. Let your soul dance like it's no longer afraid of being dirty, because you are clean, you are pure, you are whole. And this is not the end of your story. This is the beginning of a new one. You who once were ruled by lust will now walk in love. You who once bowed to shame will now stand in sonship. You who once felt powerless will now carry authority. You who once thought this is just who I am will now testify this is who he is. Let your life be a living altar. Let your body be a sacred vessel. Let your thoughts be a garden of peace. Let your desire be sanctified, not destroyed. Let your relationships be marked by reverence. Let your future be filled with clarity, not chaos. You are no longer a slave. You are no longer lust. You are no longer alone. You are free, forever, because whom the Son sets free is free indeed, and that Son is me, and I will never let you go.